lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keeps dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hope everyone's all right. Hope everyone's having a good start to their day. We're live and direct. We're back in the building. You guys already know what time it is. You know what it is. Big up everybody who's already in the damn chat already. There is a lot of you already who are here. 19 of you guys. If you guys can please make sure you are smashing that like button for everybody on the panel. And this afternoon, obviously, I thought, you know what, let's talk about Liverpool, you know, the season and stuff like that, because this last 7 weeks, there's been nothing else to talk about. So we said, you know what, let's just have a little deep dive into Liverpool, you know, in terms of tactical and stuff like that. But then Liverpool decided to flip the script. You know, they decided that this morning they were trying to be violent, you know, and we decided, you know what, let's actually do something, you know, in this transfer window. Everybody already knows. You can see the title of the video. We've already seen it on social media. Lavia, Caicedo, even Thiago interest. So we're going to dive into all of that. We're going to unpack everybody who is here today. If you've got any questions, I will start all of the questions. Towards the end of the show, we'll obviously all answer the questions for you guys, but much love. Today, I am joined by K-Mac, who is obviously to my left. Guys, make sure you're heading over to his channel and make sure you're subscribing to his channel. Jerry, you already know the vibes. That's my bro. You guys make sure you're smashing that like button and also subscribing to his channel if you are brand new here. You're going to see us rant, you're going to see us argue, you're going to see us laugh, you're going to see us rant all year long. So make sure you're smashing that subscribe button. And today we are joined for the very, very first time, a very, very knowledgeable individual, someone who I respect quite a lot. Someone whose views and points, guys, you need to just head over to Twitter because you need to just see some of the stuff that she is saying. It's going to be very, very good for you guys to obviously see. And we're joined this afternoon by Els of the Gold Diggers podcast. Els, what are we saying, man? What are we saying? Thank you for joining us as well, by the way.
Thank you. Honestly, what a chaotic morning it's been. Honestly, I cannot keep up, but I'm looking forward to discussing it because I feel like we all need a bit of, I don't know, we all need to speak about this because it's just been a crazy 24 hours.
No, 100%. And guys, obviously, I'll be posting everybody's links and stuff like that in the chat at some point during the video. But you don't care about that. You guys want to get obviously into everything, and we will get into that. Jerry, K-Mac, how are you guys doing this afternoon? I don't think I forgot about you.
You're on mute, mate.
Can you hear me?
No, K-Mac's on mute.
Oh.
Am I on?
Yeah.
It's absolutely non-stop, isn't it? Like, just crazy. It's just I can't stop refreshing my screen on websites. It's just I need to stop watching Sky Sports News as well.
We're here now. Forget Sky Sports News. Someone in the chat's gonna update. I guarantee there'll be someone in the chat. Obviously, big up everybody who's obviously in there. Jerry, how are you, bro? How are you?
I'm not gonna lie, man. I expect this nonsense. As I said yesterday, man, Liverpool are Liverpool. And I said to everyone yesterday, we said it on the stream, watch Chelsea come in and bid for Lavia and you end up going there. I said it. And no one to believe me. People laughed at me. Here you go, man. There you go. And look, it is what it is, man. We're now in a situation where we've got two players that don't really want to join the opposing clubs. I'm now going to have to contemplate that decision, which is it's a bit crazy. I mean, you left it to what? 3 days now? 3 days until the start of the Premier League season. No recognised DM for both teams. It's just a bit of a shambles, man. I'm not going to lie, it's just a bit of a shambles. And I know we're saying it's non-stop, but it's not non-stop in the way that I'd want it to be non-stop. Like, we've done this and we're doing that and we're grabbing this person and like we're being productive. It's just ill-disciplined, poor planning. And man, it's just, I don't know, man. This club just top to bottom, it reeks, man. And let's just be honest, it reeks. So let's just get into it, man. But obviously, big up to everyone in the chat. K-Mac, Els as well. Lovely to obviously be streaming with you people. Yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it, man. And yeah, pick up everybody's. There's a lot of you. There's 60 people in this chat right now. If I don't even see 50 likes, then we're gonna just cut.
No, 60, bro.
That's easy. Hit the likes.
60. Big up Zayn. Obviously, there's a situation where we don't get any, and Chelsea get all three. If that happens, I think people are gonna start splitting their wrists. Victor Ojomo, big up Jerry, big up in the building. JK, bro, are we just doing it out of spite? Because they bid on Lavia. We're going to get into that. Chelsea fans should hold that. Yeah, Don. I see that, bro. Don. All I'm saying is just, we'll see. Henry Ray Baker channel just came into your live to give you a like. Much appreciated, man, and much love. Honestly, if this is true and we outbid Chelsea for Caicedo, that lets me know we have money and FSG is just stingy. And they only act when the fans kick a fuss, because if they lose the fan base, it is peak for them. Oh, we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about that. Big up yourself. Red Scout TTV, I'm going to say 100 mil. I don't think so for a player that don't even want to play for Liverpool. Plus, we need a centre-back. If you lot think this is happening, you're wearing them red slippers. I like red slippers. Big up Captain Style. I'd love it if we got Caicedo, but Lavia more realistic, and I take him to be honest. Big up Print 11. Jerry, we are actually finished. We better get one of, I'm assuming, Lavia or Caicedo. Big up Dia in the building. JWH, be careful. He is a proper gangster. Guys, we're going to get into it. Listen, there's so many of you in here. Big up literally every single one of you. Big up Demo, big up Jamie, big up Bastille, Print, all of you guys, man. Much love and appreciation. Let's just dive into it, to be honest with you. Let's just dive into it, because I know that's what everybody's obviously waiting for. So this morning, I'm chilling, I'm thinking, I'm chatting to Els, I'm chatting to Jerry. I'm like, yeah, man, let's just talk about Liverpool today. Yeah, I mean, tactics, what players would you guys want to sign, etc., etc. And then I see this kind of pop up, on the screen at, give or take like 11:14. So we're talking about an hour. Just over an hour ago. This is from Matt Law. He was the first person to actually break this news in regards to Liverpool. Understand Liverpool have outbid Chelsea for Moises Caicedo, which would also help explain Chelsea's bid for Lavia. The suggestion, however, remains that Caicedo would prefer a Chelsea move. There is more to follow. Jerry, we'll start with you first, bro. Obviously, you've seen the news. You've seen everything. Just unpack how you're kind of looking at the situation at this current moment in time. Especially, let's say we'll start off early morning. You've seen this news. Where's your head at?
I've been surprised because it seemed like we were so far removed away from the Caicedo deal that like Chelsea would have had that one wrapped up 10 weeks ago now. I mean, talking ages ago. So a bit surprised. Sat down. Had my coffee. Done some things for work, had a think about it, and just thought to myself,
"Oh, you drink coffee?"
Yeah, I had to today. I'm still jet lagged or whatever. I'm ill from coming back from hot weather, in it. So, yeah, man. But I had to think about it, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, we are like, if we're calling ourselves a business, if FSG calling ourselves a business, Liverpool, it's so badly run at the moment. Like, do you know what I mean? As soon as you remove some key figures, Julian Ward, Michael Edwards, some other key components of that kind of financial and that transfer committee, it's just not been working properly. Clearly we have the money then to, even if I know someone mentioned there the bid, it being, do you know what I mean, a kind of cheeky bid or a bid made out of spite to hurt Chelsea. Regardless, you've made a bid of definitely 80+ million for a midfielder. Interestingly enough, we actually pulled out of the race for Bellingham because he was a bit too expensive, and this was earlier on in the window. We've decided to go for cheaper options, but haven't wanted to spend 50 million on Lavia. And I think the closer we get to D-Day, which is Sunday, right, against Chelsea, Liverpool, I think, are coming to the realization that they're not going to be able to go and get Lavia. So out of a panic, they've just gone and pressed the button and looked around, and basic football manager things, football manager or career mode in FIFA. You see, when you see the bids coming in, you're seeing, this team's interested, that team's interested in this player. And the time's ticking down. You're in that deadline day. They're just like, yeah, let's just grab him because we need a midfielder. And we know that's the crisis, and we can go and do that. And at the current market is the only midfielder that's actually really like available or there at a lower team that can be poached by a team that is quote unquote larger. I don't think we necessarily want him. If we did, we would have put all our forces into that player. There's a debate on, obviously, there's no debate. It improves our situation now, but it begs the question: are Liverpool now jumping the gun because they've got no one else to go and get? Because when we were talking about Bellingham, when we were talking about Tchouaméni, Kone, Thuram, Caicedo was never in the question ever, ever. We did not tempt them with any bid. There was no talks that were ongoing. Lo and behold, yeah, we're getting Caicedo. And another thing that just kind of just really, really irked me a bit is the whole Thiago situation now. So Liverpool seem like they're going in for Caicedo because it seems as though Thiago might be on his way out. And now Liverpool are like, we're actually losing more midfielders now. Yeah, we're going to have to just go and get a midfielder because otherwise we're in trouble. So, yeah, we're in the mud. Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes, but optimistic, no. But, yeah.
Els, chat to the people, man. Chat to the people. How are you feeling, obviously, this morning, seeing all this news and stuff like that? Like, yeah, just where was your head at, like, at the first point of, right, so Liverpool in for Caicedo kind of thing?
So after last night, I actually had an early night for the first time in a while because I was like, you know what? I can't deal with this club. I'm a very positive fan, but this is the most pessimistic I've ever been under Klopp going into the season.
I can vouch for that. I could definitely vouch for that.
Because, like, everything from the preseason, and I'm sure we'll get into it, it just seems like we're very disjointed from the pitch and away from off the pitch as well. Like this Caicedo thing, it's strange because it's almost like a new Liverpool. Like this isn't a Liverpool we know that put bids out there that like counter and try and challenge teams. Oh, Chelsea have gone for Lavia, we'll go for Caicedo. It just seems all these games are just not a Liverpool that we're used to. And it screams of like, we're very unprepared because, and also I actually think, and I thought this for a while, that Lavia, I don't think we're convinced because tell me for why for 7 weeks, we knew his valuation, but we have continued to lowball. And then now with Caicedo, we're bidding what, I don't know how much, but it's over Chelsea's bid. Like it just doesn't add up. And the whole thing with the rumors of Andre, it's like, I don't even know what's going on at this football club, to be honest. All I know is that we're heading into the season extremely unprepared. And we need to get our act together. I think today will be the golden day. Are we in for Latvia still? I don't know. Are we in for Caicedo seriously? There's so many questions, and it's just, I feel for Klopp because, and I actually don't excuse him for this because he has a bigger role in this and he has the power. So he needs to either step up and take accountability and say, get this player or move on. And that's something that's really annoyed me with the Latvia thing. Just the lack of decision making. If he's too much money, why didn't we think about that 3 weeks ago and go for someone else? Why 3 days ahead of our first game are we messing around with this? It's very un-Liverpool-like, and I think we're going down a direction we don't want to go down, especially with a club like Chelsea who have money to spend. And as somebody said in the chat, there's a possibility we might not get all three. So, yeah.
Okay, Matt. Talk to the people, man. How we feeling? How are you feeling this morning?
Right, are you ready for me to unpack this? Because this goes back a long time, okay? Last year, Chelsea bid 60 million for Lavia. So Chelsea were already interested in Lavia. Southampton rejected it because they thought they could stay up. Lavia was already agreed terms with Chelsea last year, okay? So Lavia was already thinking about Chelsea. That's never changed, okay? We lowballed them with under 30 million, by the way, cash, but with loads of ridiculous add-ons. We did it 3 times. We still never got over 40 million in cash to him, okay? So anyone talking about we offered 45 million cash, we didn't. We never got even close. Their director then went to Chelsea and said, look, you offered 60 million last year for him. Do you want him for 40 million? 40 million, okay? This happened. This happened about a week ago because we'd already put in 3 bids. He then went to Man City as well and said, look, if we keep him another year, will you take the buyback clause, which is 40 million? Okay. City said no. Chelsea said no. And then obviously we then put in the 4th bid, which got rejected again. I don't know how much that was, but I think it was 45 million in total, but still under 40 million cash. They want 50 million cash because they have to give 20% of that to Man City. And they had to do the same with Liverpool. So they've lost 20% on 2 players. So that's why Southampton don't want to get scammed. And also they've got a new director of football in, which is Jason Wilcox. So he kind of wants to not be the old guy where he was selling players off cheap. So, you know, they've got a lot of cards on their table. You know, Southampton are the ones holding all the cards with Lavia. So Chelsea have gone in with 48 million straight off. They'll get him. They'll get Lavia. Lavia's going to Chelsea, and also Tyler Adams has already got a medical booked. Tyler Adams, like, I just don't understand why we didn't just go and get him. Like, we need bodies. Like, Leeds wanted Nat Phillips all season. Like, they wanted Nat Phillips all season. So we've been negotiating for 12 million for Nat Phillips. Leeds offered 10. We said no because we wanted 12. So Leeds just gone and got Joe Rodon. So now we're stuck with Nat Phillips, by the way. And Klopp turned down Benfica for Nat Phillips last year, by the way, in case no one knew about that. So Nat Phillips had a dream move to Benfica turned down by Klopp because he wanted to keep him again. And now we're stuck with him again. So I said last week, by the way, in the chat, that we did a record bid of 85 million. World record bid for us for 85 million. That was Caicedo. That was last week. Like, you can have a look in the WhatsApp group. It's in there. So I got told about that last week. So I knew that we were going in for somebody, but I didn't know it was Caicedo. I thought it was actually Florentino Luis, but it was Caicedo. Caicedo doesn't want to come to us. He doesn't want to come to us. Like, he didn't want to come to us last year. He wanted to go to Arsenal, and then he got told off for going for breaking that stuff about Arsenal, and then putting in a transfer request. So then he was then told it's 100 million or nothing. It's 100 million or nothing. No one's going to get Caicedo unless they pay 100 million. And if you look at it as well, Caicedo's played 45 games in the Premier League, by the way. Lavia's played 26. For me, Lavia's on a better track than Caicedo. Caicedo's 2 years ahead of him. For me, Lavia would have made perfect sense. Like, just pay the 50 million, it's done. We just got 62 million for Henderson and Thiago. Like, this is Klopp. I'm sorry. This ain't Jurge Smacked. This is Klopp. Klopp does not want Lavia. Klopp doesn't want a midfielder. He doesn't want another guy. Like, Thiago now is looking like he's going to go to Al Hilal to play with Firmino for 12 million. And it looks like FSG are just selling players, whether Klopp likes it or not. So now Klopp's now come out and said, if he doesn't start getting FSG behind him, he's going to leave. Oh, and now we put a £85 million bid in for Caicedo. It kind of makes sense that FSG are panicking a bit that Klopp might walk. I got nothing else to say on that. Sorry.
No, big up all you guys. Big up
like
again.
Drama, innit?
Listen, I thought Friends was good, but yo, this is starting to turn out to be better. Big up everyone in the chat. Big up everyone, obviously, in the chat. I'm going to rifle through some more comments, but just to give my 2 cents. Look, do Liverpool have the money? Yes. Would we want to spend the money? No. So the reality is, I don't think that we'd even try and really bid for a Caicedo. I think it is kind of what everyone's saying. You know, Jerry mentioned about the games, and you know, K-Mac, you're talking about, you know, Caicedo not really wanting to even join really Liverpool. I think that's true as well. I believe someone's come out and said that today. I can't remember which journalist it was, just talking about he'd probably prefer to choose a Chelsea over us, which is fine. I got no beef with that. I think Lavia's the one where I'm a bit like, I feel he would just, Jerry mentioned it before, he's a championship player. He's trying to play in the Premier League. So if us, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, you know, I've heard little talks of Manchester United as well. I feel like if someone comes in for him, pays the money, he wouldn't have a problem in joining them. That's why we do need to, move a bit quicker. I'm kind of with Els as well in terms of we've been doing this for all 7 weeks for a £50 million guy. Like, we're not talking about this is some world record Cristiano Ronaldo, Gareth Bale, Kylian Mbappe type deal where we've got to start sorting out commercial rights and all of these kind of things. Then I'd understand, because that's going to take some time. We need to sort those kind of things out. We're talking about a guy who cost 50 million, has played how many games you said came out? 26 games in the Premier League. We still don't even know if he's even the B's and E's, but let's just say for argument's sake that he is. And we're taking this long. So that news then coming out that I thought yesterday in regards to Klopp looking like, if FSG don't pattern up and if we have a non-successful season, he might look to leave. It kind of then makes sense why they then would start looking at, okay, let's at least try and get someone that Klopp doesn't mind actually having in. But then I'm also looking at it thinking, does he want him in though? That does he even really want Caicedo? Is he even really onto Lavia? Remember, we all, like people in the chat, I'm not going to say everyone here, but people in the chat and other people across social media, they keep telling me that Lavia, we were talking about this backstage, told me that Lavia's got this high potential. If he's got a high potential, you pay the 50 million and you go. Like, I don't see why that would even be a problem, because obviously you're paying for that potential of what he could potentially be, and that is obviously today's market. The problem I'm having is I'm looking at it and thinking, does Klopp really want this guy enough? Because he's got the power. Let's stop acting like this guy ain't got the power. He could easily go to the owners and say to them, look, if I really want this guy, so you need to just make everything happen. He did it with Van Dijk. He's done it with Alisson, with obviously the Fabinhos, the Caicedos. Like, he's done it with players before. So we can't act like if he doesn't want a player, they're not going to go out and get him. Darwin Núñez, when we were fighting with Manchester United for 65 M's, potentially 80, we were fighting, and I'm sure he was talking to the owners to say, I want this player. He really is the guy that I want to sign this summer. Please, let's just get him in, pay whatever the money that Benfica wants. So he can do it here. That's why I'm a little bit like, does he even really want a Lavia? I'm a bit like torn between the two. I don't think he wants him that bad where he's going to look at the owners and say, why are you not messing around? Just pay the money. I don't think it's really that deep for him. I think, like other people have said, he might just look at the situation and just say, I'm kind of good. If you can't really get me who I really want because the money is too crazy, I'm not forcing. And there's no one really out there maybe that he's looking at, if they're not Tchouameni, Jude Bellingham or something like that. I don't think he's really stressing too much. And I think that's where we are having some issues in regards to, getting this bid. Because come on, 37 million, 40, 41, 45. They want 50 million. So you know what they want, pay the money, guys. But we seem quite reluctant to do so. I don't think it's about us not even having the money. We know we've got money. So maybe they just don't value Lavia the same way certain fans obviously value Lavia. I'm not saying that he's not good, but, maybe it just might be, one of those kind of things. But even just looking at that, and K-Mac or Els or Jerry really comes back, when you're looking at the situation as a whole, do you think first and foremost that we will sign any of the two? And if you do or don't, where does that kind of leave us at the end of this kind of window? Like, are we still looking? Do you think that we're going to still sign some more players? Like, are we in for anybody else? Like, how do you guys kind of see this? This is going to turn into a saga. I can see it already. I don't think it's going to be a quick fix. Are we signing anybody else? Are we even going to sign these two? Where do we go from here? Anyway, the floor's yours. You guys speak.
Do you know what really upsets me about Liverpool is that this whole Fabinho and Henderson replacement, this should have been thought about years before. Years. Like when we won the Premier League and for the years prior that these two were running and Wijnaldum, as soon as Wijnaldum went, Liverpool should have been thinking about a rebuild. I don't understand why we're scrambling now. Like, maybe Caicedo, maybe Lavia. Why don't we have like solid ABC choices? This should be something we're digging out of the files and implementing now. I don't understand this uncertainty and this reactive approach. Liverpool, who pride themselves on, we followed this player since they were 8 years old and blah, 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 blah. When we sign players, like, what's happening? I don't understand. Like, and in terms of, do you know what? I actually don't think we'll get either. I don't think we'll get either. I think we'll just sign someone else, personally.
Slightly, that's what I think as well. But yeah, sorry, go on, K-Mac.
I don't think we're signing anyone.
Wow.
I think that's it. I said this a while ago on your show, mate. Klopp wanted Dominic Szoboszlai and he wanted Alexis McAllister. That's it. I'm sorry, but Klopp is obsessed with Tchouameni. He's obsessed with him.
I do think he is.
Fabrizio Romano wrote it in his column. Klopp is obsessed with him. He still thinks he can get him now. He's balmy. He's had us banned by clubs talking because he's ringing them up. We can't go and get an Asio. We couldn't get a Ugarte because the club reported us. Southampton are annoyed now with us. Chelsea were going to complain to the FA about Colwell. Get your mind on doing your job and sort out your crap tactics that you're dishing up in this pre-season, and just let other people sort out the transfers. Just give them a list of names and let them do their job.
The problem is K-Mac.
LFC is becoming a joke now, and players don't want to come to us.
But
I find that a real issue.
But K-Mac, Klopp's in control now. Let's just cut the crap, man. Michael Edwards is gone. This is the first time Klopp's got in control of everything. What players come in, what players go. He's brought in his old pal, to go and help him in being a sporting director who's on the same wavelength as him. He's not going to go and say no. He's a yes man because he's singing off the same hymn sheet as Klopp. Right now, when it comes to signings, when it comes to everything that goes on in the club, before we could always go and talk about this committee, that committee, this committee, and Klopp's just a coach. He's not that anymore. We even heard Carragher talk about it on the overlap. He is now in control of every facet that goes on in this club. So whether it's tactical, whether it's, in terms of transfers, ultimately, it's got to land on him now. He wanted more control. He wanted this to be his rebuild. He sat in this podcast and spoke to us about, this season is going to be one to remember. He might be right in that. Because I'm telling you now, for anyone that thought we'd be winning leagues and winning Europa leagues and we're going to bounce back like we never did, it's not going to be the case, man, at all. 2 sex people.
No, it's all good. No, listen, it's so funny.
There's one player that we might end up with. Sorry.
Go on, who?
And it's Gravenberch. And he's probably the last player that anybody wants. But it's Gravenberch. It's one player that we might end up with.
That did pop into my mind yesterday, actually, because I'm sure I read something about us being potentially we're still in for him. Klopp does like him.
Never been away.
Yeah, it just depends on what Bayern think and stuff like that. Yo, there's over 200 of you obviously watching this stream. I need to be seeing them likes be. The likes start liking. That's all I'm saying. And
the funny thing is as well, there's loads of people writing in the chat. Amrabat, guys, you need to have a look at what happened with Amrabat. His manager came over at Christmas during the World Cup, and Klopp started waffling on about Jude Bellingham in the meeting, and they got offended and walked out. You need to look into these things, because Amrabat's never comes to Liverpool either. He pissed off his manager.
And I think
this guy puts us in the mud, man.
The thing is, and obviously I was looking at this. Obviously, Neil Jones. I was waiting for someone Liverpool related to put something up because I was like, everything else is coming from everyone else. Obviously, Jones put this out. Liverpool made contact, obviously, with Brighton over with Caicedo as per Matt Law, but it's also indicating that the Ecuadorian is still expected to join Chelsea. The pursuit of Lavia remains ongoing as per Tanziola, and apparently Thiago is also wanted. So, it's exactly what I was saying earlier on. It just seems like everything is so all over the place. We don't just seem to have, this is our target, not problem. You can't always get your first target. I'm good with that. That's why I've been so quiet on all of these transfers. And I just said, you know what? Let the club do what they're doing. It's not my job. I'm not making 15 million a year. So if I get fired, it's not a big deal. These guys are the ones who are in charge. A, B, C, D, whatever. Just have your target. But let's not be so simplistic about it. You've got George Schmack, whatever his name is, you've got him in on a short-term contract. I assumed if you're going to get him in on a short-term contract, he was going to attack the market. That's what I thought he would come in for, because he's only here for 3 months. So I thought, if he's only here for 3 months, he's just going to come in. And I think where we got a little bit overexcited, he come in, he paid the release clause of 2 players. Simple thing to do. I could have done that. So he's paid the release clause, not a problem. We then obviously done that quite early in the window. So I'm assuming then we all kind of thought, all right, let's move from here, let's do this, let's do that. We've now stalled on one target. I haven't even heard any targets for centre-back. Like, I don't even know who we're looking at for centre-back options. Lukiba's already gone. And Nastia looks like he's going to sign a new contract, which is going up to 60 million euro release clause. Colwell's not coming. We're starting to run out of options of players who are just even available.
Gee, these are fans' targets, by the way. These aren't club
No,
targets.
and I was just about to allude to
we all like our targets.
and this is what I was going to allude to. At the end of the day, that's one of the other things to look at is let's not also get so angry with the club because we want a player. I want Yusuf Fofana. I ain't seen one link to that guy, but I'm not going to be angry if he ends up going somewhere else. Do you get what I'm trying to like? We shouldn't get too angry at these kind of things because that's our target. That we don't know more than what Klopp wants for his team and what he may necessarily need. Ultimately, we have players that we like, but that's just more agenda driven. He wants his players, whoever they may be. So we've got to just kind of wait and see. That's why I am a little bit like, I'm going to just wait until this transfer window is done, because if we end up just like this and we sign just one more player and we go into the season, then, you know, it is a little bit funny. But even just moving on to looking at the midfield in a general sense, when we look at Thiago, obviously the guy who can't seem to stay fit, we don't know if whether he's coming or he's going. He's like a kid with ants in his pants. I ain't got a clue what he's looking to do. When we're looking at that, I'll start with you first. When we're looking at that, will that change anything in regards to what we then do in midfield, or do you think it's just one of those? It doesn't really matter whether he stays or goes.
I wouldn't be surprised if Thiago stays fit for a couple of weeks, plays a 6, and we're satisfied with that. And we just don't get a 6. Because that's just something Liverpool do and Klopp do. Like, if they don't get their first targets, they'll say, it's okay, we'll leave it, we'll go with what we have. And yeah, but the issue is Thiago's injury prone, but we didn't even learn from that from last summer. So are we going to learn from it this summer? I'm not sure. I just do not trust the way the club are moving. I do not trust. I just don't know how we're getting out of this situation. I just don't see a clear plan. And that's what's so frustrating and so worrying. But yeah, I can see us getting Thiago. Obviously, Stefan is going to be fit again and thinking, okay, they're fine. Let's just go with these options. I wouldn't be surprised.
I forgot about Stefan. Jerry, what do you think, man? You think this Thiago stuff is going to impact anything? Do you know what I mean? Like anything moving forward?
Yeah, I think I agree with Els. I can envision that 100%. What worries me, though, is that I think Liverpool are quite, business oriented, and they're going to look at it and say, you know what, if we can get 12 million for Thiago, that is that more value in the market than having Thiago play for us if he's not available and he's injured. Now, for me, you don't go and make such a drastic move for a target. It's not like I'm looking at it. It's not like we've gone for like a Fofana and said, you know, we're going to go and bid for Fofana now and get him for 45 or 50 million because we can't get Lavia or whatever. We've gone, and that's the price that's doubled. We don't want to pay 50 million, but we're tempted. We're trying to tempt a club for a player that's closer to the 100 million pound mark. For me, that suggests that Liverpool are looking at it and saying, you know what? There's a possibility Thiago might go. We need someone that's a bit more ready-made, and maybe they view Caicedo as being more of a ready-made player. That's why I look at it and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, man. Like, Thiago might be off, especially considering, like, Klopp could have easily come out and just said, look, the player's not going anywhere. He's still important. He's still part of our plans. It's something he could have made clear, but he didn't, and he hasn't done. And that worries me because it's as soon as he's come back to fitness, the club's made a bid for him. As soon as he's fit, they didn't make a bid for him 2 weeks ago. They haven't made a bid for him in a week's time. It's as soon as he came back into training, they made a bid for him. And Klopp's the type of manager that if you don't want to stay at the club, you can go, no matter what it is. And we're going to find solutions in the team. So, yeah, man, we'll have to just wait and see, man. But, yeah, interesting times.
Okay. What do you think about the Thiago stuff? Obviously,
Thiago's always been available. I think he was going. Well, I think it was Villarreal or Zaragoza. I can't remember what team it was in Spain.
Sevilla.
Yeah. So they negotiated with us, and he turned down their wages. He's not going to turn down Saudi wages, is he? Let's be honest. If they're going to offer 700,000 like they did for Hendo, then he'd be packing his bags. I don't know. Like what else said's probably spot on as well, because I can see Klopp just look. There's two things that we keep on saying as fans, and it's been brainwashed into us. It's well, we've got him back from an injury, so it's like having a new player, which is just ridiculous because we've literally been sold that line how many seasons, and the next one will be, well, we'll stick with what we've got. We don't have to. We could have just bought Tyler Adams for like 20 million, and he would have been a brilliant player to have that could have come off the bench and done a job. At the end of the day, all we need in midfield is people who can run around. Because look what Sabolsai and McAllister are doing now. Like, they're just running around. They're not being able to express themselves anymore. So that's just going to be the case. But like, are you trying to tell me that there isn't more players out there? Like, we keep on talking about the same people over and over and over again. Like, these guys went to those clubs from clubs that no one had ever heard of. So what are our scouts doing to get those players? Because we ain't linked with anybody. And now Estupion's been linked with us, which is another Brighton player. Like, have we literally got a dugout in Brighton now or something? Because like, all we seem to be doing is looking at Brighton and Southampton. Like, can we not look at any other clubs? Like, it's becoming a joke, like, to be fair. Like, and it's been like this for a long time. We either look at Roma, Southampton, or Brighton. Like, come on.
I feel like we're utilizing, the scout.
Yeah, we're really utilizing it.
It is a bit mad. Big up Sam Max Legend. Thank you for the super chat. Big up your damn self every time. There's more chance LFC sign Cookie Monster from Sesame Street. Don't diss Sesame Street. Even then, budget might be an issue. Total shambles. Embarrassing for a club of this stature. I mean, you know what's funny about all of this? And big up, by the way, again, big up Sam Max again on the super chat. You know what's hilarious about this? We should actually all be sitting here and be gassed, and we should be like, "Oh my goodness, we're going in for Caicedo. Oh my, everything was all worth the wait." These times, from from what I'm gauging from everybody, not everybody, but from the majority, we're all sitting here thinking, "Man, this is bullshit. Man, we ain't signing no Caicedo, man. We don't even know if we're signing like." And I don't want to do the FSG Klopp thing because I hate that kind of conversation and it kind of bores me anyway. But when we're looking at Liverpool and just how we actually move in the transfer market, is that quite telling in terms of, because of how we actually move in the transfer market and because of how we've moved in this transfer market, everyone is so pessimistic about signing one of the better DMs out there. We're not even optimistic or like happy. We're all literally sitting there saying, this is bullshit. I don't even see us signing him. Are we even really in for him? He's going to go to Chelsea. Are we even going to sign Lavia? Like, I've not seen hardly anyone say, oh my goodness, I can't wait. Boom, 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 boom. Like, yeah, for me, it's just funny. But do you guys think that that's quite telling in terms of how we're doing our transfer business and how we've done our transfer business? Right. Close your.
I mean, I think so, because usually we don't hear anything until the deal is like done. Usually we wait for Joyce and it's like, yeah, happy days. We don't have to go through these sagas and all of that. I think maybe the last kind of saga we went through was Thiago, and that was kind of by accident because the cameras caught him speaking about Liverpool. That was a complete accident. But other than that, we usually keep things really quiet, and that's why it's a little bit worrying and a bit, I'm not sure whether it's a serious bid or whether we're actually going for him because we want him, or whether it's we're playing games with Chelsea. It's just because it seems so un-Liverpool-like, it's very difficult to believe that we actually want and are going all out for Caicedo. So, yeah, that's my suspicions.
Can I touch
The
on
fact
the
that you're
George
using the
Smack
word
thing?
suspicion is even mad. But yeah, go on, Kay.
So the George Smack thing is it's a bit of an odd one, really, because the guy was at Wolfsburg, and a director of football in German teams is a little bit like you kind of do a bit of management as well. Like you speak to a lot more people and you do press conferences and things like that. George Smack's been in a villa in Ibiza all season. Like that's literally what he's been doing, and he came to a couple of the training games. Like, I have no idea what George Smack's doing. Like, I'm kind of thinking George Smack's come in to just sell people because Klopp doesn't want to do it to their face. Like, he doesn't want to hurt their feelings. Because I don't understand what he's done. Like, we got 2 signings done within like the first couple of days of the window. So George Smack couldn't have had anything to do with those because he wasn't there long enough. Like, he must have just got into the building when we signed McAllister. And he might have known about the release clause on Dominic Sabol's side, but I knew about that on Football Manager like the year before because it was on there. So it's on Football Manager. Like, you know, the guy from Brighton, Ferguson's got a 45 million release clause. Are we going to go for him as well? Like, you know what I mean? But like the thing about the George Smack thing as well is, like Jerry said, that Klopp has got so much control. Like, look, I'm not on here to just dig on Klopp, okay? I'm not, okay? If we get Caicedo, that is amazing because I really wanted Caicedo and McAllister together. But the fact that if we do get Caicedo now, why didn't we just get him when we got McAllister, when we were stood there talking to them about McAllister and went, oh, you know what? We'll have the other lad as well. We know how much he'll cost. And then we could have played them all pre-season. Everything could have been gel. We could have all been happy and laughy and battered loads of teams. And now we're going into Chelsea, you know, tails up, like, you know. But no, we're not.
Look, ultimately, we don't know. We have no idea what's actually really going on. None of us will ever know what's going on behind closed doors. So that's fair enough. And it's fine not knowing, kind of thing. Obviously, we can only go based off of everything that's been told by respected, quote unquote, journalists and stuff like that. So if they're coming out and saying a few things, obviously, for example, like this Lavia news, you know, this morning, then of course, Caicedo news, sorry, then of course we're gonna the whole fan base, especially because we are literally starving and we need a midfielder. Of course, you're gonna get this kind of reaction, you know, from various different individuals and the fan base as a whole, because we are literally starving and asking. We've needed midfielders for God knows however many years. We ended up signing 2, which is absolutely fine. Everyone's happy with those 2 players. We then let go of basically the rest of the midfielders that we had available. So now we're down to the bare bones again for the next season in terms of either not being quality, so to speak, maybe good enough for the squad, either being too young, injury prone. Like, it's almost like being in the same position, but you just rotated or changed the personnel that you've now got. And that, I think, is always going to be the issue with Liverpool fans at this current moment in time, is that we just feel that maybe the club are just not doing enough to put us into a position of strength, as opposed to right now, we are literally saying Amrabat, Florentino Luis, Andre, heck, people are talking about Redondo. Guys, I'll promise you now, Redondo is a good player, but I will be vexed if we were to sign him and not sign anybody else. It doesn't make any sense. Do you get what I'm saying? Like that, those kind of things just don't, necessarily make sense. Big up Joe Cavalier for the super chat, much appreciated. This is an FSG PR ploy to take the heat off. 4 weeks and nothing for Lavia. No actual bid has been put in. Now we have bid for Lavia. That I can definitely say in regards to Lavia. But in terms of nothing happening, I agree. We've seemed to test the waters, and I know a lot of people. And by the way, again, big up for the super chat. A lot of people talk about. I see bare content creators talk about. When you buy a car, you try to negotiate and etc. Which is true. Of course, if you can negotiate, you can negotiate. Usually, when you try to buy a car, let's say off Auto Trader, it will either tell you O&O, so all nearest offer, which means that they are willing to negotiate, or it will say the car costs £5,000. The only way that I'm going to lessen this price is if you find a scratch that I have not mentioned. Otherwise, the car costs £5,000. There are no scratches on Lavia. There's only an upside with him. So the price is the price. You either pay the price or you move on. And if you don't want to pay the price, which again is absolutely fine because it might not be within our budget, guess what? There are other clubs who are looking at the same car and they all want that car. So they're going to pay the money for that car. Just because we don't want to necessarily pay, it doesn't really mean anything. And this, again, is another point and another problem I think that, we're having with Liverpool this summer is that signing 2 players, we're on the 10th of August. The Premier League kicks off tomorrow. Manchester City versus Burnley. Manchester City versus Burnley tomorrow. Liverpool kick off on Sunday. Even if we sign someone today, it won't make a difference because they're not going to be ready in time to play on Sunday. So we're still going to go into that game with the exact same squad that we've got as of today. Els, you said it, you mentioned it before. It's just the unpreparedness that we've got at this current moment in time and the amount of time, that we're potentially wasting. Before we move on to something else, I just want to quickly ask you guys, just quick, if you could sign someone who is an achievable target, who would you sign? Any of you, you just go around the room. I'll start first. My one would be Yusuf Fofana. Okay, who would you say?
He's gone now. It would have been Tyler Adams.
Yeah, he was my one.
Achievable target. Probably Manu Kone. We could get him. It's around 60 million, and he wants to go to PSG. So.
I forgot about that. Yo, what happened to him?
That's a really good shout as well. Angels just put that in the chat. Yusuf Basuma is a very good player. I don't know whether he's going to get game time. To be fair, there's one player that I really like, Oliver Skip. I think he'd be fantastic.
Okay, Mac, I am not even trying to see Oliver Skip appear at Liverpool. I will tell you right now, we are not even trying to go in for Oliver Skip. I respect that you like him, but I ain't even trying to see Oliver Skip. I'm not trying to see Jerry Sanderberger. I ain't trying to see no Mason Mount. I ain't trying to see none of these guys. Because if I see these guys, then Liverpool are finishing. I'm just going to go support Barcelona for the season, man. Because this is just wrong. Go on, Helen.
It's tough. I feel like I'm going to go... Ugarte was my first choice, by the way. Long time he was my first choice. But since we can't get him, I think we have to go for Florentino Luis. I don't know how much he costs, but I think we have to go for him. He's the closest.
Florentino Luis was my first choice, but he was saying acceptable. Like Florentino Luis got like 100 million release clause. That's why I didn't say it. Sorry.
Okay. I don't know.
Luis is incredible.
Because he didn't even play for Benfica last night. He was on the bench, so
maybe that could be something. Jerry, chat to me, brother. You say flipping Sanderberger. Yo, we're gonna.
He's gone, man. Sanderberger's gone. He's with company now. He's gonna tear up the league, man. Watch.
You'll see him tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Watch tomorrow. Watch him against Rodri doing pivots. It's gonna be brazy. Anyway,
if he does it, I'll come on live right away and I'll say, I actually apologize. He's actually cool.
Cool. All we need is one good game in it, and that's it. But yeah, I don't know, man. I wanted I was talking about Lavia from early, like from before the transfer window. I was chatting about Lavia, so I wanted Lavia. It's not going to happen. So for me, in an ideal world, I'll just go and get Painho, even though he's injured. Like, and it's something to do with your shoulder. Yeah, from Fulham. And it's a shoulder injury, but that's not something that's really going to keep you out. It's nothing to do with like ligaments in your knees and that. So I'd grab him. If not, I'm gonna go a bit left field. I think at this moment in time, beggars can't be choosers, and I'll just go to Leicester and grab Wilfred Ndidi.
Oh, I was about to say him.
He's 26. He's athletic. He can play at centre back. He can play in the DM. He showed he can play box to box as well. He's experienced in the Prem. Right now, like big up to Boom Boom 43. It's anyone at this stage, and I think he's assured. Like what you're getting with him. Like he's not. I'm not saying he's gonna come and tear up the league or whatever and be the best DM in the league. But you're going to get like a 6-7 out of 10, and I think that's what we need in that position. It's better than anything we've got right now.
Facts.
He's playing quite well against us in in the
he done well against us.
season.
We saw his running as well. He can still run. He's got legs. Yeah, I'd go Wilfred Ndidi, man.
I think, to be honest, all your choices actually, bar the Oliver Skip one, but the and the Ndidi, I like both players. I would actually lean more towards Ndidi purely out of seeing him more and knowing what he can do, and I don't even think he would cost that much. If Luiz is going to cost this 100 M's that you're saying came at, then yeah, if he doesn't, and he's going to cost you, say like he was like a £50 million player, I'd say really I would actually say get both, because I think both would actually really, really work well, you know what I mean, in this team, and we need a bit more of the depth just in a general sense. Big up Cavalier, Joe Cavalier again for the super chat. I meant on Caicedo, not the actual bid. Okay, yeah, I get you. That was to his earlier comment.
Oh, there's another guy as well, which no one's mentioned. Boubacar Kamara, who plays for Aston Villa. I think he's fantastic as well.
Love him. I was campaigning last summer to sign him for free. I don't know what's wrong with this club.
Free transfer.
Decore we could have got for 20 million. Like all these players, like I don't know what I don't understand.
Okay, cool. You know what? Yeah, on that, why is it you think that we seem to pass up? Because I heard that I heard this like months ago, that we were fully looking at Caicedo time before he even joined Brighton, but we passed up. Enzo, we were looking at when he was at
Keepin as well.
And Keepin on as well. There was one other player that I don't think it was McAllister. There was someone else that we looked at prior to them. Mateus Nunes, and the other one that went to Wolves as well. Is it João Gomez?
Enzo Fernandez as well.
Yeah, I think it was João Gomez. We've looked at all of these players. Why do you think we don't ever actually go in for these guys? But then later on, now we're looking at these guys and saying, "Yo, let's sign these guys. Like, let's get these kind of players in."
Yeah, I don't know. I think what it is, I think what it is, let's be honest, man. If Liverpool went and bought Caicedo, for like 7 mil or whatever it was from some random team, let's be honest, man. He's not getting a sniff in that midfield at Liverpool, because we don't know how good he is. He's not going to get the chance to play and become the Caicedo we know. And everyone's going to look at him and be like, is he better than Fabinho? Is he better than like Henderson at the time? Is he better than this person? Is he better than that person? And at their pomp, you couldn't get better than that. So unless we were going out and getting a Thiago like we did, or getting out someone that's like, wow, a massive improvement, they weren't going to go and get the chance. So because Liverpool are linked with them, they're also looking at it and being like, all right, is Caicedo that much better than we've got Ox on the bench? Right now, is he better than Ox? And Ox can't get game time even if he's fit. And I know he's injury prone, but even if he's fit, he can't get game time. On paper, you would say no, because he's playing in some random Ecuadorian league or wherever it is. Do you know what I mean? Like that's essentially what it is. So we're not in a position like Brighton, like a Swansea, like all these low league teams that can go and buy these players and essentially gamble and be like, look, we're going to test them out, because if we finish 8th or 10th or 14th, it doesn't really make that much of a difference for our club, because their main objective is to stay up. Liverpool's objective is to win. Now, does Caicedo come in from Brighton and win automatically, or McAllister or Enzo Fernandez before they move to Benfica? Of course not. But Liverpool are obviously sniffing around now when they can see that they're the real deal. But we're in a catch-22, because then we can't compete with the big boys on that table. So it's a sticky one. It's like, do you know what I mean? If we went and I used the example of Sander Berger. But remember that was rumored about like 2-3 seasons ago when he went to Sheffield, has had a decent season. If Sheffield stayed up and he tore it up the next season after that, we'd be like, yeah, get Sander Berger. But we wouldn't have wanted to get him when he first moved from Genk, because it's like, who is this brother? You know what I mean? So it's like with us as fans and the team as well, they have to look at the player and see, can he actually come in and make that much of a difference? I think when you're seeing all these midfielders leave now we're willing to kind of get anyone. But let's be honest, when Liverpool were at their pomp, we knew that no one's coming into that midfield to replace them. We tried to do it with Naby Keita, we tried to do it with Ox, we tried to do it with loads of players. And at every moment in time, the midfield that were there always got the nod. So, yeah, it's interesting, man.
I mean, even
Can I just touch on that as well? Oh, go on. Sorry, go on else.
I was going to say, even if we go right back and look at how we dealt with Marco Grujic, like, we didn't even really give him a chance.
Exactly.
That's just it. So
exactly, Marco Grujic was a fantastic one. When we saw Marco Grujic and GU at the game when he scored that mad header against Barca.
Bro, I was telling everyone, yeah, watch out for Gruitch though, because under Klopp, he's gonna do a madness. You guys don't even know.
Exactly. Do I mean every preseason I saw him, he played well, he did decent, he looked comfortable. And I was like, yeah, I like him. He's gone to Porto, he's a decent player, isn't it? He's a decent player. He's better than anything we've got in the six right now, but he was just never going to get a chance at Liverpool. So why would Liverpool invest like 7 million here, 10 million there, 10 million there on a player that doesn't play? We know Klopp don't rotate, so yeah, that's a big one.
The biggest reason why, and this kind of comes back to the fans as well, by the way, because we've all we act like this now. When we sign a player, it's where does he play? Where does he fit? What position is he going into? He could just be a squad player. Like that. That's always the mentality with Liverpool FC fans now. When you sign a player, it's like, oh, where does he go in the team? Doesn't have to go in the team. He can just be in the squad. And that's the problem. That's been the problem. And unfortunately, that's because Klopp doesn't rotate. Like Klopp doesn't play that many players. He plays about 17 players, like as a standard per season. You know, Jones was the lucky one that got in. You know, Trent was the lucky one that got in. He only got in because Klein got injured. Like, you know, it's look all by crook. There's like some of those players have sneaked in. But yeah, we weren't going to sign a young Caicedo or a young Enzo Fernandez because what are we going to do? Loan them out to Ross County because our loan system is just in the mud. Like, what are you going to do? Send them to Scotland? Like, they're not going to get a good loan deal, are they?
The thing is that in itself, I've always spoken about in terms of I don't really get our loans. Like half the time, I'm seeing these times Balogun. Donny hasn't kicked a ball like that in the Premier League. The guy got loaned out to League One, and now look at him, Inter Milan and all these Monaco. They're all looking at him saying, "Yeah, man, you know what I mean? 50 mil, that's the price," kind of thing. And I'm not saying that we necessarily have to have players go out to top teams all the time because you need to kind of play to the level that maybe is just a tad bit above you, but you can still obviously push yourself to get there. But you're right, K-Mac. Like some of these loans I'm looking at, and I'm like Tranmere Rovers and Kidderminster. That Reece Williams was literally kicking ball at Kidderminster, and we had to put him in as centre back because we had no other centre back. Like that is the most braziest thing to ever even think of. Nat Phillips was doing up. What was it? I'm sure he was somewhere in Germany, like playing football. Like these kind of little things that we're doing, it doesn't really make sense. And I think yes, moving forward for Liverpool, that is going to have to be something that we're definitely going to need to look at. Big up my guy Zabiri in the cut. If the window ends and we bring in 3 more players, will there be an apology to FSG/Liverpool? Follow up, what if we struggle? Would there be any accountability for the manager, coaching staff? Big up the panel. We'll start off with the first point. If the window ends and we bring in 3 more players, will there be any apology to FSG, LFC? Now, I'm not going to ask you guys because I don't care. I'm not going to ask you about your FSGs and Klopps and whatever. We'll leave that for another day. But do you look at that and also think, would there, from the people who are going, hammer and tongs against FSG and Liverpool and blah, 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 would you look at that and think they would almost be owed an apology? I'm just playing devil's advocate, by the way. Don't want anyone DM me anything crazy.
Who do you want to go first?
You go.
I'll do the FSG thing because I've been FSG in for a long, long time. Look, if we sign Caicedo, that's over 200 million this window. Okay, that means Klopp's been backed. That means Klopp's had the money to buy players. I don't know. Like, I don't think they need an apology. I think they probably just maybe need to just stop the FSG out. Like it's like 3rd on trending on Twitter today. So like, you know what I mean? If we bidded 85 million for Caicedo, which is now probably going to come out that we have, they're still 3rd on Twitter trending for FSG out. Like, what do they need to do? I don't know.
What do you think? Not apology. Maybe I'll take that word out, so to speak. But just in terms of, will we start viewing them a little bit differently? Do you think, or is it just really the same old, same old?
I would just kind of view it as job done. We've kind of done what we've had to do and what we should have done like in previous seasons, because we're kind of kind of trying to make up ground after, because this didn't have to happen. We could have bought a player here and then. We just wouldn't be in this situation. But it's kind of the fact that, okay, we'll all be happy that the squad is sorted and everything. I'm kind of doubtful that we even get those 3 players. But if we do, I'll be happy. But I certainly won't be like apologetic. I'll just be like, job done. Let's get on with the season. Yeah.
No, Jerry, how are you looking at that?
I know you're playing devil's advocate, man, but
I'm not even going to answer the question. That's why I'm asking you here.
That was a load of rubbish. Are you mad? That's like it's too little, too late. It's too little, too late. Now you have to integrate for 3 more players into a team. When the season started, you don't know how they're going to gel. You don't know whether they're going to even. Do you know what I mean, if they're the right targets? Now it's just about bringing any targets. You haven't said to me, we're bringing in Modric, flipping Casemiro in his prime, and flipping Cruz into the midfield to go and revitalize Liverpool. It's just any random players. If we bring in Andre, Trinidad, I don't know, Lavia, and whoever else, is that an amazing summer? No, it isn't. No, it isn't, because we've come to this thing unprepared. Like, the time's gone. We've got the players in now. Who's to say they're going to bang? We're now under the assumptions that every single player Liverpool signed hit the running and they'd be amazing for Liverpool and they're going to revitalize the team. Signings don't work like that. How long did it take for Fabinho to integrate into the team? How long did it take for Robbo to integrate into the team? And in a season where it's supposed to be the most important season of Klopp's tenure as Liverpool manager, it's just a shocking way to start. And I know we're saying we feel sorry for, some people say they feel sorry for Klopp and sorry for this. I feel sorry for the likes of Virgil and Salah, because they're essentially going for a rebuild when they're at an age now where they just should be winning, going for the top honours. Because guess what? Your career don't last forever, man. Virgil, Salah, they're all 30 plus. They've got about 5 years at the top max. And that's like, that's wishful thinking. Majority of players don't play till they're 35. They don't, especially not at the top level. So they might carry on playing till they're 35, but Salah might be, do you know what I mean, in the Saudi league, and Virgil might be back in at Groningen or something. Like, let's just be honest. So we're wasting their time. I said it, man. I just don't see Liverpool winning anything major. Like I said 2 seasons ago, for the next 5 years, and lo and behold, I just don't think it's gonna work, because by the time these players are kicking and running, unless there's some like magical kind of run of just form and they integrate seamlessly, and it's like, wow, one of the best seasons Liverpool's ever seen. It's going to take them about 2 seasons for that midfield to gel and understand each other. Klopp's going to have to go and find the system. Bear in mind, Klopp's spoken about finding a system for the Chelsea game. He doesn't even know what he's going to do. We need to find a formation to go and help to play against Chelsea in 6 days. This is 6 days ago. We've got 3 days left. Like, at this point, it is what it is. We're just going to have to run it and just see what happens. So, apology, no. What if we struggle? Would there be any accountability for the manager?
That's the next point I was going to come to for everybody. Like,
on that as well. On that as well, what Jerry just said about that Salah, Alisson, and Virgil van Dijk. These guys just don't get enough credit. Like, I'm sorry, but when we're not playing well, we blame them. Like, no, those guys are always on it. Those 3. Like I do feel sorry for them. I really do. And they must be sat there thinking, like, I'm in my prime. Like, if I was in a Man City team, or, Inter Milan, or, Real Madrid, or, one of those big boys that are always winning their leagues, they'd be absolutely raking it in now with trophies and medals, and they deserve it. And, I do feel sorry for those guys, because they're going through the mud with the rest of it. But they're always performing still.
Like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate, so I'm not even going to dive into it and try and unpack that like you guys. You
sound like you're underwater.
Can you hear me now? Does it still sound a little bit funny?
Yeah, it's better, yeah.
Okay. No, I was going to say, like, even in regards to what Jabiru's saying there in that second part of it, like, would there be any accountability if we do struggle in terms of the manager and the coaching, or are we just strictly looking at this from a perception or perceive this to be a thing of it's just FSG, it's just the ownership. So, and if they don't pattern up, and obviously Klopp, because they could pattern up, we could sign all these players, and we still finish fifth. Do you know what I mean? So, are we not then back in? I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I don't know how the season is realistically going to pan out, but if those things do happen, does that accountability then finally fall on the manager and the coaching staff? Because I do feel that at the moment, what's happening is most of the people are going to obviously look at, okay, it's the ownership because we're not getting in the players. Jerry touched upon something about, we're just signing, if we get these players in, it's just looking at any other player. So what I was going to ask before you finish was, so let's use that any player analogy, yeah? If we then sign those same players that we're talking about now, if we signed them before, would that have made any difference to what you guys are going to look at in the season, i.e., oh, we're going to be better, we're going to be worse off? Like, does that even matter? Because at the end of the day, it's still any players, so to speak, in terms of in using your word. But if we sign Trindade or Lavia, whoever, earlier in the window, does that change anything for you guys? Is that something that you're looking at and thinking, okay, yeah, this season might be a bit different?
I think it's different. It's like, imagine Valentine's Day, and I decide to go and plan something, right?
Yeah.
And I decide, like, cool, I'm going to make a meal, or even not even make a meal, I'm going to order. But I order the meal, and it's like Morley's, right? And I put it on a plate, and I do the whole aesthetic thing. I take loads of pictures and do that, right? That's one thing, right? Even if it's not top tier, that's one thing. I've planned it out, I've executed it, I've thought about it, and that was my go-to thing to go and do, right? What Liverpool are doing is like, shit, it's Valentine's Day. Let me stop up at the Morley's and bring it with the bag whilst the missus is sitting down at the table, mad fuming because I haven't done anything. That's the way Liverpool are doing stuff. If Liverpool, look, at the end of the day, look, I'm not Klopp, I'm not Michael Edwards, I'm not anyone. I'm just a fan. So if you tell me that this is the player that you want, whether it's Lavia, Trinidad, it could have been flipping Oliver Skip, whoever. If Liverpool had gone in and said, this is the player we want, I'd be like, okay, cool. You've done your due diligence and this is the person you want. If that works or not is now down to the club. We're going to obviously support that player. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And at the end of the day, it's the manager's job that's under question and Liverpool's position in the table. And the ability to win honours is then obviously hindered and impacted depending on how well the signings do and how well they integrate. If you're doing it last minute, it's because you aren't prepared. So this isn't the first choice. This isn't what you wanted. Because just going back to your point, we weren't talking about Lavia when Thuram and Manu Kone were being, held and heralded. We weren't. When we were talking about Bellingham, Thuram and Kone weren't being mentioned. It was Enzo Fernandez and someone else. And it's always someone else. There's always been someone else. It's like, this isn't the first or second choice. We're like now down to that fifth and sixth choice. So we're underprepared. So we're now getting players that we don't even necessarily want. We're doing it out of necessity. It's like with the Arthur Melo signing last season. I could tell you, look, we signed a player that played for Barcelona and this. And I tried to spin it. I was like, you know what? That's a direct Thiago. If Thiago can't play, we got Arthur Melo. Cool. Look how that worked out. I'm not falling for it again. Fool me once, shame on you, man. Fool me twice. Yeah, man. I'm not doing it again, man.
Oh, what are you saying, man, in regards to that? Like the second part of that super chat that we do.
To be honest, I actually held Klopp accountable last season because I felt like it took way too long for him to find a formation and a system that actually stopped us leaking goals and got us to actually play football. What it was like maybe 10 games to go till we did that. So I felt like despite the transfers, Klopp has a duty to bring out the best in the squad. And if he's not doing that, it's not good enough. And I understand that we had tired legs, we had Fabinho and Henderson that weren't quite on it, but it didn't excuse us to be like the easiest team to play against. I don't understand why it took 2/3 of the season to sort that out. It just wasn't necessary. And then this season, signing players, I would have thought after the mess of last season, Liverpool would sit down and say, okay, we're going to either continue with this formation or we're going to scrap it. These are the players that we want to try and make this better for next season. Let's get them in. Let's use preseason to try it out. We haven't done any of that. And it just seems like we're being way too reactive. And I don't understand why there wasn't an A, B, and C for every single position. It just doesn't quite make sense to me. So it's really poor from Liverpool because as you use the example Fabinho, even when it took him a while, him and Robbo, we still kind of had an established spine-ish where, okay, it wasn't perfect, but we could still play. Now we have Gakpo playing in midfield. We have Szoboszlai tracking Trent and trying to, like, I don't understand what's going on. We have McAllister playing in the 6. We don't know who's playing in the 6 for the first couple of weeks. Like, the start of the season is very key. It's very key. Our start of the season last year was awful. And in terms of title races and top 4s, you have to start well. Even if it's not perfect, just get results. And it's difficult if you don't have an established defensive structure that you've worked on in pre-season. It just seems like a mess. So, yeah, let's see.
Can I touch on that as well?
By the way, just before you even do, all I'm gonna say is, again, Els is very positive. I'm just letting you guys know she's very positive. So the fact that she's talking like this. Sorry, K-Man, go on, continue.
I think we've got the 7th easiest start to the season as well out of the Premier League games it's been rated. So we do need to start well because we've got an easier start than a lot of other teams. I think Newcastle have got the worst because my mate sent me that. The thing about it as well is, I just want to touch on what Elle said is like, even Dominik Szoboszlai has now come out and spoke to the Hungarian press and said he's willing to do whatever he's asked to do, which is a worry for me. Because he's probably just going to run. He's not going to shoot and he's not going to create. And I'm just thinking, like, what have we just wasted 70 million on? Like, we just wasted 70 million on a runner. So that scares the bejeebus out of me. But it's like, look, last season, yeah, we went on a 10-game. Everyone keeps on talking about it. We went on a 10-game unbeaten run. We beat loads of crap teams. Okay, it was the end of the season. We didn't play anyone that good. Let's be really honest. Okay, and we played a formation which nobody had actually expected us to play. So they didn't really know how to judge how we played. And we can pass the ball around and we can score goals. Like, that's always been something that we can do, no matter what. And that's what we did. And we won the odd game here and there, like by a couple of goals here and there. But we still didn't look completely safe at the back in those last 10 games. And then when we got to the last 2 games, we then got caught out because teams just went, all right, we're just going to put men on Trent, or we're just going to not track that run of Henderson because he doesn't do anything. So I thought, okay. And then Klopp said he's going to carry on playing that formation. So he did pre-season. It's been an absolute disaster. It really has. So it's like, okay, then if that's been a disaster, just go back to what you know. Like, I don't care if those 2 players that we just spent 100 million on play as a Gini Wijnaldum and a Henderson. I don't care, as long as we get results and as long as we look better at the back. But we don't. And we're still persisting with this inverted role, which is going to be a problem. Massive problem. Massive. And we sent our reserve right back out on loan to Preston. So, like, for me, stick with something. But just get rid of that inverted stuff because it's making Robbo look rubbish. It's making Trent look... I don't know what Trent's doing now, to be honest. He's going to be a scapegoat. And Konate's hamstrings are going to go.
You know what? The reason
we don't need to sign any players. Just play a better formation.
That's actually what I was going to go into. Like, what do we think Liverpool actually need heading into the season? The reason why I'm laughing so much is because you got to realize that all of the things that we are saying that we're talking about now, this happened last season. It's happened in previous windows. We've been talking about all of the things and everything that's happening right now. So not buying these certain players, taking too long, getting the wrong type of players, formation, all of that. We've been talking about this for ages. Like, it's gone on too long now. Like, we're too busy talking about this instead of talking about all the good things that are kind of happening in terms of signing Szoboszlai, signing Alexis McAllister, Curtis Jones obviously coming through, Trent playing in this new position, Gakpo now looking like he is that Firmino kind of player that we potentially need. Luis Diaz coming back from an injury. Is he going to be the player that we want him to be? Who knows? But he's now back from injury. Diogo Jota looks like he's got his scoring boots back on. Salah, being Salah, looks like he might even elevate his game and just become that facilitator for everybody. Because of the deficiencies that are going on, which have been going on for so long, we're in this situation where I'm still asking this question, the 10th of August, what do Liverpool need going into a season? Like, I shouldn't be asking this question. Like, I should be looking at it thinking, oh, maybe if we sign another player, I'm good, but we can kind of go with what we've got. So I'll ask everybody here and people in the panel, let me know, just not in terms of like the actual player name, but what are you guys looking for? If you could have a perfect end to the window, and we could obviously just finish the window strong, and then we can start September, obviously, because the games are going to come up now. We start September with what we've got. What do we need in terms of signings or tactics or whatever? Jerry, what do you think we need, like in terms of just player position-wise? You're on mute.
Apologies. A DM, a right back, and a left centre back.
DM, a right back, and left centre back. And you think if we get that, we're good to go in terms of whatever your expectations are for the season?
Yeah, to get into the top 4, yes. Yes, I think it means Robbo's not playing how Robbo is. Robbo's looking exposed with this inverted thing. I think it means that Trent can start in midfield if need be. He can start at right back, and it means that we still got adequate cover. And then we just have a DM. We've got to recognise DM. And yeah, if there's an injury, obviously it'll be a bit of a shame, but we can still rotate a few things, and defensively we look a bit more solid, in my opinion.
Okay. Position-wise?
Two
players. You could choose, like, if you could just, it doesn't matter. It's
two players for me, and they're both available. They've both got release clauses, which we like. They're both Portuguese, funny enough.
I think I know.
Inacio and Florentino Luis. They're both available, both got release clauses. They can both play in this formation that we've got right now, and also the other formation. So you've got Inacio, we can play centre back and also left back. You can also play left wing, by the way, just in case. And then you've got Florentino Luis, whose stats are the exact same as a prime Fabinho in 2019, 2020. Incredible. 23 years old, can play DM, can play midfield, can also play box. Just a very, very good player. He's been on loan in France, in Spain. He's done Champions League. He's played in the Portuguese team, like both of them Portuguese internationals in the World Cup. Seriously, like you get both of them for 110, maybe even 100 million if you negotiate. Seriously, that puts us back in the top 3, and the Europa League. We'd probably win that with those two players. That's how close we are. That's what hurts the most. That's what really makes me upset. We are that close every single season. We are 1 or 2 players away from having the dynasty that we should have had. It's annoying and it's sad.
I hear it. I actually fully hear it. Els, chat to me.
First of all, I agree with Florentino Luis.
I know you agree with Luis.
Honestly, he's actually perfect, because off the ball is where the priority needs to be. I think Lavia really flourishes on the ball in particular, but Florentino Luis, if you want to replace Fabinho, and his numbers are so, as I said, his numbers are so close to Fabinho's, that's the kind of player we need. So I think if we get a DM of that caliber, I can do with one. Similar to Caicedo, if we get like a big player like that, I can do with one central midfield, one DM. But if we get someone like Lavia, I would want someone else. But I actually think we need 2 centre backs, because I don't know what's going on with Matip and Gomez. And also Konate's injuries worry me. So I think we actually need 2.
Yeah. It's just because of me.
Who's the centre back? Come on, you need to put your neck on the line here. Who's the centre back?
Centre back.
I want to know because you agree with Louise.
I like Todibo of Todibo.
With the French one, the one that was at Barca.
From Nice.
Yeah, the one that Man United are going for.
Yeah.
I love Antonio Silva.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he was the other guy I was going to say. Antonio
These
Silva
are
just can't play left.
Honestly,
He is brilliant.
Honestly, those two players, especially Todibo, I think he's got elements of Gomez in him. He's very comfortable going out wide. So I think he'll be really good competition for Konate as well. So that's the kind of player I want. But Antonio Silva, in terms of his progressive passing, his positioning at 19, it's just incredible. So that's just one I think I hope we're watching. Like, I hope. But yeah, they're my two names personally. Left centre back, I don't know. I think a couple have gone that I would have ideally wanted, but yeah, that's why I'm more keen on the right centre back situation. But yeah, in terms of DMs, I mentioned Florentino Luis. Caicedo, of course, would be game changer, by the way. Like, this is a brilliant player, but I just have doubts whether we're serious about him. But yeah, I think those options. So 2 centre backs ideally, and then a DM or 2 depending on the caliber of DM.
Nah, I feel you. Just for argument's sake, this would have been my choice. To be honest with you, he was actually the one I wanted for us to sign, but obviously, ultimately, he looks like he's going Leipzig. DM Fofana, as in that is the only DM I want. I don't even want anyone else. Everyone else for me would just be, if it's not Caicedo, then it would have to be someone like Fofana. I still actually want another central midfielder because I don't trust that we're going to stay injury free. It's just the midfielders that I'm looking at. I don't feel like there's any real good ones. So we're all looking at potential type of central midfielders. I was actually looking at Eze because I actually feel like he can play in all the central midfield positions, and he can play out wide, and he can play, behind the striker as well. And he's English.
And he's got a release clause.
Thank you, because I didn't even know that. Then he's got a release clause as well.
That was Elise.
How much?
That was Elise. Both got.
No, not Elise. No, it's Eze.
No, they both got 50 million release clauses.
50.
Then Bob's your uncle. There's your players, and then the centre back market. Jesus Christ, man! That left-sided centre back, it just seems to be getting smaller and smaller in terms of the players.
There's a guy in France called Arthur Titre, who's a Belgium international. He's going to be incredible.
You see, with players like him, this is where I look at the fan base and I'm just like, we're going to fall into these traps way too easily. Is that I think he's good. I do think he's all right. But he's not really at a level, like, I would rather you go out and sign like Schlotterbeck, for example, like who's already, I feel, at that kind of level where you're coming into the team straight away and we're not even asking it too many questions. Arthur Theatre is good, but I feel like there'll be a bit of teething problems with someone like
that's why I went for Inacio.
Yeah. So I'd rather go for like an Inacio, Antonio Silva, like those. Antonio Silva would get
Teacher for like 20 million though, and he'll go for like 40, 50 million once he goes to like Leipzig and then gets sold.
And I think it goes back to Jerry's point about we wouldn't like those type of players. It's almost like I need you to go to Leipzig first. I need to see you there just to see how you kind of move. And then, i.e., no one was signing Vardio when he was playing at wherever he was prior to RB Leipzig. You know what I mean? Now he's playing at RB Leipzig. I mean, Dynamo.
There's also another guy at Dynamo, by the way, Saluso, who's basically another Guardiola. I think his name's Salso. Like, you'll get him for like 5 million. He's going to be the next Guardiola. So
look, there's players out there, but yeah, I want 2 new centre backs because I feel like Konate is an injury or mistake waiting to happen. I like the guy a lot, and I have to keep saying this caveat. I do like him. I'm just LG said it there. You see that comfortability on moving out to the right hand side? I'm not with it. I feel like he does need that competition, but I actually think he would be a sick VVD replacement in the centre of our defence. He's got the same thing. He's got the same strength. He can read the game in the centre of the pitch. I feel like he could easily take over Van Dijk when Van Dijk's obviously, on his last legs and stuff like that, and then get someone comfortable playing both sides of him. He just gives them the ball. I don't see Diaz running up on the side for Manchester City because he ain't that comfortable on the ball. He can play, but nowhere near to the same comfortability as a Stones or Kanje or okay, you can't do it like they can. Get players around Kanate, I promise you'll see a different player. So yeah, two centre backs and yeah, I think two midfielders would be absolutely fine for me. We got the beer again, $5. We appreciate it, bro. We appreciate it. The only beautiful lady on the panel. I rate her, and I hope she's a regular. Love the points generated from my super chat. Is another to show love. We appreciate that, bro, man. Every single time. But just looking forward, obviously, towards the season, in terms of where we think Liverpool might actually finish. How are you looking? And again, just basing this on what we have now. Forget Lavia link, forget all of that. Let's say we don't sign any of them and we go into the season with what we have. So tactically and whatever. How do you see Liverpool's season finishing up this year? Jerry, I want to hear what you got to say, because you're going to have to stand on your word, just like I will, from the end of the season. Chat to you guys.
6, man. 6. I think every other team's going to improve. I think Chelsea are going to be a bit better. I'm not saying they're going to finish ahead of us, but it means they're going to take points off other teams. It means it's a bit more competitive. I think Newcastle. I think between the position of 5th and 6th. I think if we were to get 4th, I think it would be very, very, very lucky. And I think we'd be looking at a season again where, you know, a Newcastle was really bad, or a United had a really bad season, and we were able to like sneak one in. But I just think going forward, we look quite good. I think we look quite slick. From a defensive standpoint, though, the fact that one ball over the top can cause issues, and we've conceded every single game that we've played in pre-season. Could have been, it was Darmstadt, it was Karlsruhe, it was whoever. Teams that I've never, ever heard of, I'm going to be honest. It means that, you know, the way we've been playing at Chelsea, at Brighton, at Brentford, and Aston Villa, they're going to cause us just the same amount of problems. And if we can't handle that counter, and we're going to have a majority of the ball, it means that we're always going to be susceptible to conceding goals. And you can't progress in this season if you can't shut up shop and be a bit more defensive minded. And we're not set up like that. We've got too many attackers. We've got no midfield at the moment. And our defenders, they're not as, our defense as a team, anyway, I don't want to single out just the defenders, but our defense as a team isn't as formidable as it was due to the press not being as effective, due to the midfielders not being able to run the same. And Klopp's been quite adamant at talking about, you know, one of the main components he wants his team to be this season is being a possession-based side. So the first time, it's the first thing he went and mentioned when asked about what to expect from this Liverpool side this season. So it means that the count is going to be something that's always going to be on. We're not good at preventing it at the moment. Van Dijk's come out himself and said he understands why fans are worried. And if your skipper is coming out and saying that, it means there's actually a larger worry at stake, because he's always going to try to play it down and reassure fans, as is the club. So yeah, I think 5th or 6th.
What do you think, man?
I think 4th or 5th. Just nothing to actually do with us. I just think teams like Brighton, Villa obviously look good. Newcastle, because they have Europe, and I'm sorry, Newcastle fans, I think they might drop into the Europa League maybe. I think juggling both the league and Europe will be a new experience for them, and it's not easy. It's not easy. So 4th or 5th, I just think the way the squad is, we're quite clearly short. I think we're kind of in the middle of, if we're talking about Klopp's first tenure, first cycle, maybe between Liverpool 16-17 and 17-18, where our attack is amazing, but we have a lot of problems at the back, and we need to find a solution to that. But yeah, I actually don't think it makes too much of a difference, because remember, 5th is a Champions League spot. So we're actually lucky that 5th place has opened up to be a Champions League team. So yeah, just please. I'm sorry.
He's feeling your Europa League shot. I can't even lie.
I'm sorry. I hope you do go for it. I do hope, yeah.
Okay, man. Chat to the people, man.
Oh, what's with all the doom and gloom? We're going to win the quad.
I wish.
Oh man, you got to read that. You got to read that comments out. It's just had me in stitches. Basically, so, boom. Boom Boom just said, I'm surprised Jörg hasn't seen all these names you're mentioning. He's been playing FIFA every day instead of working.
Whatever he's doing, he ain't doing something right. I'll tell you that for free.
If look, signing the players isn't an issue for me. Look, if we don't sign anyone, then I'm not bothered as long as we sort out this formation and just play the tactics that we've won before with. If we play the 4-3-3, which we've won the whole lot with, then we can finish in the top 4. If we don't, I can see us being 8th. I'm not kidding you. If you look at the teams that have bought players, they have improved massively. They really have. Like Brighton, Aston Villa, Brentford, like Chelsea.
But
got Newcastle, Man City, Arsenal.
What I would say though is talking about that formation change. We can't play the 4-3-3 in the way that we did because the makeup of the midfield is different. The makeup of the forwards are different. They don't press as well. They're not as athletic, and they're more ball oriented and ball possession based. So if we were to go to a 4-3-3 and we've done that last season, it just didn't work. We were getting cut open. We couldn't press. It's like teams were just cutting through the middle of us. That was before Trent was getting isolated.
The issue was Henderson and Fabinho. Now we'll have Dominic Szoboszlai and McAllister.
Yeah, who still is a more attacking.
I think it'll be different.
I think he's still more of an attacking player. I just don't see it. We're still seeing him doing the same thing that Henderson did, and we've been arguing and saying that he's not looking as offensive as he did at Leipzig because the role is different, which is understandable. But I just don't see that working because the forwards don't press the same way Bobby and Mane were able to, with Salah following up, and then having Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum and Fabinho. The makeup of the midfield is completely different. So even Trent's roles had to go and change. And I think in order to protect Trent, right, from a defensive standpoint, he has to come inverted. As soon as he goes back up to right back, unless you're going to replace him, you're just going to get isolated time and time again. And if he's not being isolated 1v1, you're just not going to be in that position when the ball's going over the top. And that's my worry.
But then the inverted is going to make Canate.
Yeah. Look, and my argument is who. And I think that's mad as well. But my argument is,
and then you got Robbo just playing in midfield.
Yeah, that's why obviously I said the left side of centre back. But then the argument is, who would you rather have 1v1? Konate 1v1 or Trent 1v1 in defensive transition? Bear in mind, the first couple of games in pre-season, every half that Trent went and played when he was in midfield, or when he came in, but when he was in midfield, and we had that situation, it was solid. We didn't concede any goals.
To be honest, I think we're in between both formations. So you can see, if you look at like the heat map and where everyone is, average positions, you can see Robbo and Trent are almost in the same position. So it's like we're trying to do a combination of what we did in under 4-3-3 and having Trent in this inverted fullback. So I think that's why it's just not working. So I think Klopp just needs to stick to one. I think personally he's sticking with the inverted fullback system just because of the caliber of players that we've got and how it suits them. So Szoboszlai obviously being almost like an attacking 10 right midfielder, and then McAllister on the left, and then having a DM to sit with Trent. I think that's because if we want to go back to a 4-3-3, we'll need like an Andre, a Kone, someone like that. We'll need like 2 at least to be able to do that. Because I agree that off the ball, I just don't think the way our midfield is, the profiles of our midfield can go back to that system.
I think Liverpool will finish. Tune in at 6:30 p.m. this evening, where we'll be going through our Liverpool predictions, and you will see where I think Liverpool will finish in that time. I ain't going to tell you now. You guys are going to have to wait for the show later on. So obviously you guys are all saying more or less came out saying top 4 if we go back to a certain system. Jerry and Elsie, obviously you're saying like it's looking like a 5th type of situation, so to speak. To be fair, I am kind of in and around
Champions League, by the way, 5th this season. Like just
are we sure it's this season? Because I keep seeing conflicting reports. Okay. No, I just think because people told me that it's only if one of the legacy clubs finish 5th. So if for example, if Brighton finish 5th, they won't get Champions League next season. They'll still get Europa.
But
So
if we finish fifth, we're safe. We're in the Champions League. It's just a shame it's going to be implemented last season because I'm not looking forward to it.
Can you hear that? Can you hear how much we're in the mud? That it's like, oh, well, if we finish fifth, then madness.
Listen. It's actually mad. Look, the last point I wanted to kind of talk about today, and I think it is quite an interesting topic because again, it kind of centers around everything that's kind of going on in and around the club. Is this man under pressure for this season to be successful though? Like, are we looking at this season and saying, brother, if you don't have a successful season, we're going to be talking about finding a new manager or whatever? Are we looking at it like that?
No.
I'm gonna came at you go first. I want to hear you to be fair.
No, I don't think he's under any pressure again, is he? Like, he's already done his speech before the start of the season. He got that out of the way early. I don't think he is because you just look at all the Twitter, like it's all FSG out. It's all their fault. It's always going to be their fault. The guy walks on water. Right? He's not to blame. Not to blame. FSG love him as well because he's their enabler. He's their mouthpiece. He blocks the noise. Nah, he's fine as long as we come fifth.
Jerry?
Yeah, man. Look, he's under pressure, but of course he's under pressure. I think he knows he's under pressure. But I guess it just depends internally what the expectations are for this season. I think the loss of Fabinho, the loss of all these midfielders, the fact that we haven't got a midfielder means that his pressure's alleviated. I think it would be a different scenario if we had gotten all our targets really early, had Mbappe signed and everyone like that. I think that would be a yeah, I mean, hypothetically. I mean, a man can dream, G. A man can dream. But yeah, it's...
He's still linked with us.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, it's mad. But for me, it's one of those ones where he's under pressure. And I know us as fans, some people are saying, look, we're going to win the Europa League. And look, if we sign this player, one more DM and we're going to win the league. And loads of people are saying this. That might be your expectations. The club might have different expectations of what to do. I think, was it Bill Hogan speaking about, the fact that we're not in the Champions League? Now we've had to adjust our targets, and we've got to move accordingly, and we have done. Means that we haven't got that same revenue. I think there's a different level of expectation, and I think as long as Liverpool get into the top 4, even top 5, and there or thereabouts, Liverpool will look at that as we're stabilizing the club this season. Last season we did the same to go and try and kick on the season after, or the season after that with a couple more seasons of Luis Diaz and Nunes and Mac and Szoboszlai being in the team. So I don't think it's that serious. I think if he's at 10th, in January and that, I think it's a bit of a different story because FSG will not allow Liverpool to be at the Champions League for 2 seasons. I think it's too that's just too dramatic and too drastic for Liverpool because they need that revenue. But as long as we're there and thereabouts, I think they're fine. I think he's fine.
I think it's funny. I think Klopp is under more pressure than the fan base than his own bosses. And I think that speaks volume to the kind of role that he's taken. I agree with everyone's point. As long as we finish like 4th or 5th, I think FSG will be happy. And it's all good. It's only bearing a disaster.
Are you happy though?
What did you say?
No, I said, are you going to be happy though?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I want Liverpool competing. I'm sick of City. I'm sick of seeing them sit at the top. I'm sick of it because I look at Arsenal and they're a good team, but I just know they're not to the level that we were, and it's upsetting because we were there, and the how we've fallen, it's just unacceptable. It's so unacceptable, and it's annoying that FSG do not have the same kind of ambition, because if they did, then their ambitions will be higher of Klopp. Then Klopp will be under pressure more, and then we probably would have got more signings. So it's all hand in hand. But yeah, because I think the expectations actually aren't as high as us, I don't think he's under pressure bearing a disaster.
Okay, did I ask you? I asked you, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's just, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm just laughing because at least I'm not alone anymore. That's all I care about. I'm not alone. I'm not the only one starting to question what's going on, you know what I mean, behind closed doors and stuff like that. Big up Asian Reds. Thank you again for the super chat. I did see it, but I just wanted to wait for the right moment to ask. Question for the panel. Do you feel Robbo has fallen off? Okay.
If we play him as a left back, no. If we play him as a centre back, yes, because he's not a centre back.
Okay.
Like, if you're going to play a guy who's played all his career, broke loads of records, been absolutely incredible for us for years and years, and then you're just going to chuck him into a position that he's never played before, he's going to fall off, and his confidence has taken a knock as well, because it's not his natural position. He's 29 years old. Like, he's still got a lot to offer. Just put him in a position that he can play in. Like, makes sense.
I agree. Els, what we saying?
He's pretty good for Scotland.
Yeah, which is actually funny. Yeah, go on.
I agree. I think Robert hasn't fallen off. I just think the system is exposing him a little bit. He isn't. I don't think he's not following instructions. I just don't think Klopp is coaching or disciplining him enough in the formation where he keeps bombing forward. It just doesn't show his best abilities. He's such a well-balanced fullback. One of the top assists of any defender. He's always been solid defensively over the years. So I still think he has that. I just think the system is exposing him. So I don't think it's his fault. I don't think he's been at his best. But neither was anyone last season. So it's just the system, I think. And Klopp.
I have to throw that little ankle. Jerry.
I think if Liverpool want to be a high-intensity team and try to be very, very direct, I think Robertson can still be an important cog. I think if we're trying to keep possession a bit more and be a bit more fluid with how we play, he's not the right back that we require, but it's not an urgent situation where we need to kind of replace him this season. But I need the club to be looking for a left back now for next season, because I think after this season, yeah, man, your time will be up. Unfortunately, I think the game evolves. I think you see the difference in the different requirements now needed from a left back, and Robbo is just not going to be able to adapt because he's a certain type of left back. It doesn't mean he's poor. It doesn't mean he can't be effective. But the more you become a possession-based side, the more you're going to need him to sometimes come inverted, maybe come inside a bit. And we've seen it with Arsenal and City last season, where both fullbacks are coming inverted. And that's what Arsenal are going to have now with Timber and Zinchenko. It means that they're very, very unpredictable. With Robbo, it's a weird one. Even when we play through at the back, having him sit back and defend, we're just kind of negating what he can do. I think Klopp's in a situation where it's like, look, I need you to be a bit more reserved, but I still need you to be the Robbo that we all know, because you still offer a lot going forward and being really, really direct. And we've tried to keep that and implement that into a kind of free at the back system. So yeah, I think he's on a downward trajectory, but it's not surprising when you're a player that relies so much on your athleticism and your pace and your directness. And yeah, but we'll have to just obviously wait and see how far he's fallen off, or whether he can adapt to something new.
There you guys have it, man. There you guys have it. To answer the question, basically what everyone else said times 3. Yeah, I'll say that much. What they said. Yeah, big up Beijing again every single time. Make sure you guys obviously head over to Beijing Reds TV as well. Make sure you're subscribing to their channel. Guys, we're at the end. So if you've got any questions before we obviously head out in the next 5 minutes, please post them in the chat and I will go through as many as we possibly can. Here's a question. Big up Realism Jared every single damn time. He posted this out a little while ago. But I did wanted to ask, whilst we're having that Caicedo and Lavia conversation, I think you guys kind of maybe did answer it, but do you guys think there is much of a difference between the two players, Caicedo and Lavia, like a £50 million difference? Jerry or else, whoever. Okay.
Okay, so I mean, Caicedo can play right back as well. Like that's a difference, and he looks pretty good. He's not worth 100 million. Lavia's not worth 50 million for me. Lavia's worth like 30 million. Caicedo's worth 70. Like, so they're just massively inflated prices. But Caicedo's been to a World Cup, looked really good in the World Cup. He's played 45 games for Brighton, looked really good for Brighton. Like Lavia's ahead of him in he's played a lot. Like he's only played like 26 games. So he's got Premier League experience already. He's kind of on the track, but earlier than Caicedo. So in like when Lavia's 21, he might be twice as good as Caicedo. I don't know. Caicedo is a game-changing player to come into any team. Like seriously, if Brighton lose Caicedo, that's a big loss to them. The way they play. If he comes to us, that's a massive plus to how we play. Like Lavia would take 6 months, I think, to get into it. I feel Caicedo plug and play.
Yeah, I agree. I think Caicedo is a game changer. I think it can change the team immediately. And that's what we need, because you look at Salah, you look at Virgil, you look at their ages. You want to win while they're at the level they're at. I think Lavia is a good player. I've always said he's a good player, but I just think he might need a little bit of time. That's why I wouldn't have minded him and Fabinho or somebody to be alongside him, so all the pressure isn't on him. And of course, we have Stefan as well, Bajcetic, and I rate him very highly. So I just think Caicedo is the game changer. And I would even be happy to go with just him if we were to get him rather than two. But if it was Lavia, I think we would need to.
Yeah.
No, do you think there's a difference?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I've said it before. For me, in my opinion, if you were to swap Caicedo out with Lavia and Lavia out with Caicedo for Southampton and Brighton, respectively, I don't think those teams finish any higher or any lower, really, which proves to me that I think we're raving about Caicedo because there is a lot of hype about him. Yes, he's played in the World Cup, but Brighton have done really well. Whereas we're talking about a player now that hasn't obviously been in a team that's done really well and has had a fewer games. Kind of Caicedo has played maybe like 10 games more or so as a sample size. I think we're in a situation now where we need a player, and I guess because of the sample size, I'd probably, if someone just told me you can get any player for free, I'd probably side with a Caicedo because he's played more games. But I think especially when you look at the stats, you look at kind of per 90, you look at the amount they run, the tackles per 90, the recoveries and all that, very, very, very similar for players that are in a similar age bracket, but one player is playing for a team that got relegated and another player is playing for a team that almost got promoted. It's like, you put Thiago at Southampton. Is Thiago looking as good as he did at Bayern Munich? I don't think so. And I think Lavia just, for me, has a higher ceiling because of his ability on the ball. And I think that's something that you cannot go and teach. Now, time will tell. Like I said, I'm a fan, so I'm never going to go and say I know more than anyone. But I don't think the disparity should be as much as it is. I think if Caicedo's 100 million, then I think Lavia should be about 70. And I'm not saying Caicedo's worth 100 million, but that's the kind of bracket. That's the kind of bracket I'd be looking at. So, yeah, man.
I agree.
Lavia wasn't the best player of Southampton last season, by the way. James Ward-Prowse was. Sorry. Not having that. Yeah. Not having that.
No.
That guy put that in the post. He scored like 12 goals or something as well, James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, Lavia allowed him to get forward more than he's ever done. When you had Oriol Romeo there, that didn't happen. He was so
where
deep.
Oriol Romeo ended up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yo, some people are getting plugged in, boy. We got Prince 11. Do you guys rate the Szoboszlai signing? I think I know the answer from this, but Okay.
It's way too soon. Sorry, like
Oh, wow.
it's way too soon to even rate him. Look, Donis Sabulsai is an incredible player. Like he really is. Like at the moment, he's just being used as a runner, and he's really good at that as well. So let's judge him like when he's playing in a team where he's being allowed to express himself, you know, and then we'll look at him more. And let's put him in a team which like is ticking over. You know, at the moment he's kind of been in and out. He's been played in the wrong position twice. He got injured, so he missed the game. So it's been a bit hit and miss. But you know, Donis Balsai's got a hell of a lot of talent, and he's going to be a really good player for us if we use him the right way. We can't judge him now.
Joe?
Jerry, on mute.
Jerry? He's on mute.
So you guys asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, apologies. Sorry, I just had to pick up work. Had to pick up work. Yeah, I rate the signing, man. I think it's a good signing. Like he's a good player, very, very good player. I think from a set pieces, he's lethal. He's dangerous. I just think the role is going to be different. I think people have got to accept that he's not going to be the player that you thought you're going to get at Leipzig. Doesn't mean he's not going to have good performances or bad performances, but you got to look at him differently. It's like, you know, if you went and signed, I don't know, Mbappe, but he started playing left wing or whatever, or left wing back. Not left wing, but left wing back. It's a completely different role now. So, yeah, you might not get the same amount of goals and you'll be like, nah, he's dead, he's flopped. But you can still have good performances, just not based on what type of performances you were expecting from him. That's the way I look at it.
I think he's a great player. I think he's a huge upgrade on Henderson in terms of the role that Henderson tried to play, especially his ability to go on the wing and that which will allow Salah to come inside the pitch. It's just about how Liverpool use him. I just hope that we can have a more settled system, and then I think he will flourish. But it's one of those where I just hope that we don't use him as a runner, which we are doing currently. So I hope we just sign the adequate players so he can flourish, because he's got so much talent, set pieces, his shooting ability. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for him. And obviously he has that iconic number 8 shirt. So I'm rooting for him big time. Big time. Yeah.
Yourself. We'll go through the last few questions and then obviously we're going to head out. Try to keep it short. Big up Peter Ryan_Ryan. Does anyone think like I do that we are not considering any centre back because the club is banking on Jarell Kwanzaa if Joe and Matip are not working? I'll keep it brief, guys, I guess. Okay.
I just don't think centre backs even been in the equation. I really don't. You know, Klopp maybe made a few prank calls to Colwell, but I think that's it. I think Jarell Kwanzaa actually has looked pretty good. I mean, he got hung out to dry by Shimikas in that first pre-season game as soon as he came on the pitch. But I think he's looked pretty solid. He's not a kid though. He's like 20, 21, 22. I think he had a loan at Millwall or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but he didn't have like a great loan. But
Bristol Rovers, I think.
Bristol Rovers, that's not too bad to be. Oh no, it's not Bristol City. It's Bristol Rovers. They're like a league below, I think, aren't they? Look, we can't be banking on a 21-year-old inexperienced centre back in that left-sided position as our replacement for Joe Gomez or Matip, can we? Is that really how far we've gone? We might as well play Nat Phillips. Keep Nat Phillips then. No frills, does exactly what he says on the tin.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I like Nat Phillips. I think it's all right.
Look, we need a left-sided centre back if we're going to play this inverted. But as a backup, I don't think he's good enough for a backup for me. Sorry.
Can I just say on that, Phillips, I feel so sorry for him. I just think we're wasting his career.
No,
Honestly, for like 3
exactly.
years, he's been leaving. Like, I just feel so sorry for him, for one. So I hope he
Could have gone to
goes.
Benfica. Els.
That's just
That's
crazy.
just shocking. Like,
Just cannot believe. Anyway, Konsa, I think it's difficult for centre backs coming from the academy in top clubs, just because I feel like as a centre back, you can never not have enough experience. So I feel like it's way too soon for him. Even if you look at like players like Virgil, he took a while to get to the level he was. He didn't show it at 18, 19, 20. People like Kanate, they're kind of like exceptions. People like Saliba, they're just kind of incredible talent. And they flourished from the French league and then came over. So I just think him going out and getting experience is ideal. But yeah, Matip and Gomez, I don't know what we do with them, personally.
But yeah, it's like looking peak for Matip and Gomez. So, Cherry?
I think Liverpool are considering that option. Just to put it bluntly, I think it's definitely a solution that Liverpool are looking at.
Short and sweet. Just I like my cupcake. We got Frank Carlisle. How many players do we really need for a decent season before the window closes? That's my question. Just one word answer. How many do you think we need? I think we answered it before anyway, but
2.
Jerry?
3.
Three. Cool. I think 4. Honestly, would you, Mandem, have taken Edson Alvarez? West Ham paid 38 million euros for him. I would have taken him. He can play DM and centre back. Yes or no?
Nope, can't jump.
Yeah, better than anything we've got.
Yeah, because we don't have a 6. So yeah, we have no one.
I mean, that's fair enough. Yeah, I didn't think of that bit.
Big up Wayne Lynch as well. Question: has Chelsea thrown 100 million on players overinflated the market prices? Yes or no?
Yeah.
We think Chelsea are the ones who are overinflated, like because West Ham are asking for 105 million for Declan Rice. I don't see Chelsea asking for 105 million for.
They started it with Enzo.
Yeah.
They started it by spending 100 million on a player that hadn't even played a full season. Like that's the one. Crazy.
Jerry.
I mean, it started with Neymar, innit?
I'm gonna say we need to bring it back.
Started with Neymar, like this is just. I'm not surprised by this. I'm not like, oh my god, it's 100 million. That's the market, innit?
No, true. Big up again, Zabiri again for the super chat, bro. Much love and appreciation, man. Thank you very much. Apologies for interrupting the premise of the show. Isn't it weird that Klopp is only putting his foot down when he's fallen versus when he was up at the top?
I said
Very
that.
weird.
I kind of alluded to that a lot.
Very weird, bro.
Big up Zabiri.
Would you want to do that? It's weird, bro.
No, I feel you. And big up Zabiri again, obviously on the super chat. And the last question that we're gonna have for today. So let's round up with a bit of jokes. Big up Stefano, LFC. Would you guys take Jay Spearing or a 42-year-old Gerrard or a current version of Busquets if you had to play one DM versus Chelsea? I'm gonna answer that myself. I'm taking a current version of Busquets right now. That's the Busquets. I saw him play the other day. I was like, what? Yeah. See?
Yeah, he's still playing, isn't he? Yeah,
Easy. Yeah,
the others aren't playing.
Busquets comes to the team. If you can stay fit, we get top 4. That's how good he is.
Serious.
But now, big up, obviously, everybody inside. I'd like to thank, obviously, my co-host, obviously, for today's show. Big up, Els. Make sure you guys, obviously, are heading on over there. Make sure you check out the Gold Diggers podcast. I will be posting that and put it in my description. So you guys can head on over there. Els, is there anything you guys have got popping for this week, this weekend, Premier League starting? Anything we need to look out for?
I'll just say we did like a special on Gold Diggers. Just keep an eye on that and see how dirty they did Liverpool. Just keep an eye.
Yeah, man. Look,
You're trying to do Liverpool dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll see. Watch out for it.
Say no more.
Put the link in there as well so I can follow your channel.
Yeah, I'm gonna literally post everything out in a sec. K-Mac, anything popping for these next couple of days when the league
I'm going to
started?
do a show, but I've done this one, so I'm not going to do a show tonight. I'm going to have a rest.
Coolio.
Yeah, I'm going to do my show on FSG, Klopp and Pep Guardiola. Probably going to be a couple of hours long. I'll probably do that in a couple of days. We'll see. Just check out my channel, you'll see.
Guys, make sure you are smashing that notification bell. And Jerry, tell the people what we got later on, bro, before we head up. Tell the people, bro.
Yeah, man. 6:30. Obviously, we got G's prediction, and we got the Premier League prediction, and then obviously we got the preview for the Chelsea game as well, alongside any other breaking transfer news. So, if Els' prediction is right, and today's the golden day, and we're in the golden hours, then we might be back before that. But until then, you're just gonna have to obviously just stay posted. Make sure obviously we're smashing up the like, subscribing if you're new to the channel. And make sure to obviously click the notification bell just to be updated when we're dropping content, because we're dropping mad content at the moment, man.
And that, people, is the end of the show. Make sure you guys like, make sure you share, make sure you're bloody well subscribed if you are new, and we are out.